CTV's W5. They promised a spiritual education.
What was done at Grenville was the opposite of Christianity.
Steeped in faith, values, and obedience.
This is a Christian school, so we thought.
For some, a private school.
It was a great school in so many ways.
For others, a private hell.
It was like waking up in a horror film.
He told me that I was a whore.
Was there any incidents of sexual abuse?
Yes.
Victor Malarek
Charles Farnsworth applied the Community of Jesus teachings at Grenville.
investigates claims of shocking cruelty.
If the people in charge told us to do something, we did it.
Unusual religious rituals, beatings
They beat the crap out of me with a desktop.
that left innocent lives battered and broken,
I was called trash, filth.
and searching for justice.
What do you hope to get out of all of this?
To heal.
This story, this week on W5. Here is Lloyd Robertson.
Welcome to W5. Grenville Christian College was an exclusive private school, the kind of place any parent would trust with their children's education. It promised good teachers, extracurricular activities, a setting like a country club. And to top it off, it was an Anglican-inspired Christian education. But for some of the boarding students, the reality was far from the promise. For these teens, Grenville was a place of psychological, physical, even sexual abuse. Claims that they have brought forward in a class action lawsuit, alleging that through the 1970s, 80s, and 90s, the abuses students suffered that were committed in the name of God have left them scarred for life. Here is Victor Malarek.
Brockville, Ontario. Here they pride themselves as the city of the Thousand Islands, a mecca for tourists who visit the St. Lawrence River. But not far from Brockville is a place not many come to visit, Grenville Christian College. Once an elite private boarding school, it now sits empty. For some, it's a place haunted with painful memories. On this day, a group of former students has agreed to come back to tell W5 about their years at the school and the abuses they claim they suffered.
When you look at this place,
I'm sick.
Jacqueline Thomas was a student in the 90s.
This is the first time I've been here in 22 years. I'm trying really hard not to cry for your cameras right now, but I feel sick. I'm terrified. I shouldn't be terrified.
what happened to you in here?
Me, when I was here,
Mark Vincent attended Grenville in the 70s.
the worst memory I ever have, and it's still, sorry. They beat the crap out of me with a desktop to the point where I couldn't stand, and then they held me up and they kept beating. And I ended up leaving after that because God told them to do it to me.
God told them to beat you?
Turned out they wanted me to rat on one of my friends for smoking, and I wouldn't tell on them. They made me drop my pants, my underwear, everything right down. One teacher, I still remember him swinging, and after two, I couldn't stand up.
Tricia Sprosson was a student in the 90s.
When you come back here, you're looking here, what are you thinking?
I'm trying very hard right now not to cry. Oh,
What is it saying to this building?
just constant psychological warfare. I didn't see the light of day for weeks here. I was locked up in staff apartments before I ran away.
Dean McCrone was here in the 80s.
You're basically like powerless. They did use the fear and intimidation tactic. You're 15 years old. You don't know what your rights are. You're too afraid to basically stand up for yourself.
But for some young women, it could even get worse.
But then every Sunday it was okay for Father Farnsworth to come through and be greeting everybody like this until he gets to his favorites, where he grabs their breasts and says, "Good morning, are you gonna have a good Sunday?" And you can't say anything.
Did he ever touch your body?
Yes. Every single Sunday I had my breasts grabbed by Father Farnsworth, to the point now where I could not breastfeed my daughter because I can't stand having anything touch my breasts.
Allegations of physical and sexual abuse from these former students. Claims that are starkly different from the images of Grenville one can find in this promotional video. Happy students all, getting a good Christian education. And in student testimonials, nothing but positive comments, especially towards teachers.
The devotion of the teachers has helped me to be where I am now, to have achieved what I have in the year.
They're totally dedicated towards the students. They're not just teachers, as in most cases, they're like family.
What Grenville promised was Anglican tradition for day students and boarders from kindergarten to high school.
Our purpose in the lives of young people and training young people and preparing them for their life and their life in the future is to give them a sense of true honesty, a code of ethics, and a desire to live in integrity.
For many years, Father Charles Farnsworth was the headmaster. Here one would find academic excellence, sports, and the arts, educating the whole person in body, mind, and spirit.
Nice glossy brochure.
That's what my parents and I got before I went to Grenville.
Looking through the Grenville brochure, Andrew Hale Byrne recalls his family's search for a school, thinking they'd found a place like the finest boarding schools of his native Scotland.
My mother commented that it looked better than most country clubs she'd seen. It was beautiful. It was actually breathtaking on the St. Lawrence River, and beautiful tree-lined drive going up to the main, 100-year-old building.
You get a feeling very early on that things are not going to be going good for you?
It wasn't until after I'd been at the school for a few days and I started to hear about, obviously their beliefs and practices, which were, quite absurd and bizarre.
What are they?
One thing that stuck out in my mind and I found particularly disturbing from the very first moment I witnessed it was the public humiliations in the chapel and the dining room, where they would drag a student onto the stage and that person would be ripped apart, humiliated, shamed in front of the entire student body.
What students were promised at Grenville was love and Christian teaching. Time and again, Andrew says, he witnessed neither, as the staff, led by their headmaster, psychologically abused the students.
You're thinking, geez, within weeks of being there, that this is your worst nightmare?
It was like waking up in a horror film.
What is actually being said to the student?
If they were girls, they'd be called sluts, whores, bitches in heat, pieces of meat. I was called trash, filth, pig, garbage.
Oh, wait, this is a Christian school.
So we thought. They took Christianity, which is a religion of love, which was my experience of growing up Anglican, and they inverted it into a cult of hate. I was told that in order to be loved by God, I had to pass through the light, and that involved going through what they called a light session, which is one of these public humiliations. And you had to die to self, they said, in order to be loved by God, and that involved hating yourself.
You went through a light session?
Numerous ones.
Light sessions, harsh discipline. Andrew's experience was far from unique. Dan Michelson began boarding at Grenville in 1985, in grade 10.
What kind of guy were you at the age of 15, 16?
Pretty happy-go-lucky. A little bit of a personality, I guess, to put it that way.
But all that changed within a couple of weeks of starting school, with a rude awakening.
Guess I've been talking in my sleep, and I was woken up to a punch to the groin area by one of the staff members there.
A staff member punch you in the groin?
Yeah.
For sleep talking?
For sleep talking, and kept his hand on below my chin, just above the neck kind of thing, and dragged me into the bathroom.
What did he do to you in the bathroom?
Gave me a toothbrush, gave me a cloth, gave me some water vinegar solution, and had me clean the washroom.
So there you are on the floor, on your knees, with a toothbrush, cleaning the tile.
Yeah.
Was that it?
I kept at it for a few hours, and he came in and used one of the urinals, and as he's backing away from the urinal, I'm still on my hands and knees with scrubbing away at the tiles there, and felt a bit of warm liquid on my back.
Urine?
Urine.
Are you kidding?
And he said, I think you missed a spot there.
According to Dan, discipline could come at any time of day or night. Once again, those light sessions.
We would be pulled out of bed, lights would be turned on, dragged out of bed. We were berated and screamed at for being sinful boys, or just our attitude, general attitude.
What would they yell and scream?
That you're self-centered, self-righteous, and so forth, and you're a disgrace. You're, what was I called? I was called a mutt. I was called an animal. I was called a pig.
There were other humiliations?
Yeah.
Other kinds of disciplines?
Mm-hmm.
What would you say was the worst?
I had bedwetting issue. I was brought up to the front of the dining hall, and they had a necklace that had a rattle and a soother on it.
A pacifier.
A pacifier and a rattle. Put it on my neck, around my neck, and said, see, Dan here. If everybody looks out to the east side of the dining room, you see that mattress against the wall of the dormitory, and there was a yellow stain on it, and it said, that's Dan's mattress. So if he's going to be a baby, he should be treated like a baby, because only babies wet their beds, kind of thing. I felt my face burning. I was totally ashamed.
Totally humiliated.
Yeah.
Next, mercilessly berated by the staff.
He compared me to Lucifer.
Students buckle under the pressure.
Blamed ourselves as abuse victims all often do.
When W5 continues. Moment. A headmaster's distortion of faith.
Had he been born 400 years ago, he would have been burning witches at Salem.
We'll be right back.
Grenville College was held up as a model, a private boarding school, where students would be surrounded by Christian love. But Dan Michelson claims what he received was psychological torture.
You were there for 4 years.
4 years.
How the heck did you survive that? Or did you?
For Andrew Hale Byrne, the constant screaming and criticism, so-called light sessions, broke his teenage spirit.
After 2 years of being there, I normalized it. And I came to believe that I deserved to be treated this way, that I was garbage, filth, trash. And we were told, God hates you, God doesn't love you, you're damned. And I came to just normalize this.
It was a far cry from what the headmaster, Charles Farnsworth, promised.
I know quite well that I ought not to have all I asked for.
He's seen here in this home video. Father Farnsworth, an Anglican priest. He came to the school in 1972. By 1983, he was in charge, a position he held for the next 14 years. In this document, obtained by W5, Farnsworth insisted his goal was to leave students with an indelible imprint of what the Christian life was all about. For Dan Michelson, it was a vision of hell.
Charles Farnsworth, what was he like?
Very angry little man. The school was heated by a wood chip boiler system. There's windows that would show the wood chips burning. Charles Farnsworth scrubbed the neck and was just looking there, In
the boiler.
In the boiler kind of thing. You see those flames in there? That's hell. And if you look closely in there, you can see yourself in there, because that's where you're headed to.
You're 16 years old. What are you thinking?
I'm absolutely terrified.
Did you at any time say, I got to write a letter to my parents and tell them?
Yeah, because after my first time on discipline, I wrote a letter to my parents. And remember putting my letter in the mailbox, the mail going out there kind of thing. And then a few hours later, I was called into the headmaster's office.
Charles Farnsworth?
Yeah, screaming at me, that was spreading lies about the school. And he says, you know what, you're going to write home a truthful letter about what's happening here.
Truthful being what a great place this is.
I guess you could call it the sterile letter. The sterile letter about, what happens here, how happy I was kind of thing, and how
loved the food, loved the teachers.
For Andrew Hale Byrne, the stories of intimidation and alleged